Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'll be discussing the most requested video, that is we'll be discussing 2021 Middle East GP exam questions. So today I'll be discussing few among them. So let's get started. So first question is, the vaccine contraindicated in egg allergy. So this question is very important and this is repeated in many questions. So one is it was repeated in March MOH and also it was repeated in DHA March exam. So this topic is also very important because this is seen repeatedly asked in many other exams also. But recent it was asked in MOH and DHA. So the vaccine contraindicated in egg allergy is flu vaccine. So the answer was influenza vaccine or flu vaccine. So remember this. Not only in 2021 questions, this was asked in previous year questions also, like in 2020. Every year they usually come up with all these types of, especially the vaccine related questions. So one among the most important one is vaccine contraindicated in egg allergy, that is flu vaccine. So that is first question. Again, second question, the drug of choice for trigeminal neuralgia. So these questions are really simple because they'll be giving some more information, like they can give you some features of trigeminal neuralgia and then they can ask you the drug of choice, or directly they can ask which is the drug of choice for trigeminal neuralgia. So this question was asked in HAT, made at, and the answer is carbamazepine. So before that, as I said, you should know that what is trigeminal neuralgia. So this condition usually affects in people with some problems with fifth cranial nerve or trigeminal nerve, and they'll be having some unilateral shooting facial pain. And this pain is usually precipitated by various factors, like whenever we touch the face or whenever we chew food. All these things can aggravate or precipitate this pain. So that's about trigeminal neuralgia. So remember, sometimes they will be giving a scenario like this: a man or a lady presented with shooting pain over the right side of the face, and she also complains that this pain is getting increased on chewing or touching. Okay, so these scenarios also can be asked. So here you should know that the drug of choice is carbamazepine. So carbamazepine comes under one of the anti-epileptic medicine. So that's the second question, and this was asked in HAT May date. Again, next question is the most common cause of conductive hearing loss in children. So they can give you a lot of options like otitis media, otitis externa, then otosclerosis. There are a lot of conditions. So I'll be giving, I have already discussed few conditions in ENT, that is very important conditions, and they are usually asked also. So I'll be giving you the link in my comment box. So here they are asking which is the most common cause of conductive hearing loss in children. So as I said, there are a lot of causes that can lead to conductive hearing loss. Okay, and the most common cause that leads to hearing loss in children is otitis media with effusion, or what we call it as blue ear. Okay, so again you should know that what is otitis media with effusion. So this is also known as blue ear, and this results because of building up of fluid in the middle ear, and usually in children this results because of repeated infections in the middle ear. Okay, that's why we call it as repeated otitis media. So that is one among the most important cause that can lead to otitis media with effusion. Okay, so the children will be complaining like they'll be, because of this hearing loss, they'll be listening to the TV at high volumes, and also they need things to be repeated sometimes, and this can lead to lack of concentration also in children. So that's about the most common cause of conductive hearing loss in children, that is otitis media with effusion. It's not otitis media. Okay, you may get confused whether it is otitis media or is it otitis media with effusion. So with effusion means whenever there is repeated infections of otitis media, it can result in this fluid buildup and it can result to blue ear. Okay, so that's about this question. And this was asked in March this year, March MOH. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So next question is a child with clinical features of hypercalcemia. Because all these are recalls, the question may be slightly different from what they have asked, but the content is same. So the child actually presented with hypocalcemia, and they will be giving you some features of hypocalcemia like carpopedal spasm, which are the most common findings, and perioral numbness, and also prolonged QT interval. So this is also an important finding in hypocalcemia. So you should know that these are the findings that we see in hypocalcemia, like carpopedal spasm, then perioral numbness, lack of concentration. Sometimes the child can present with seizures also. Okay, so here they are asking what is the treatment. So immediately we should give calcium. Okay, so we usually give IV calcium gluconate. Okay, so that is the correct answer. So again they can give you lot of options. So this is the correct answer, IV calcium gluconate. Again this was asked in DHA exam, DHA March exam. Okay, so that's about hypocalcemia. Again next question, moving on to next question. So next is most common cause of failure to thrive in children due to malabsorption. So there can be many causes for failure to thrive in children, but they are specifically asking due to malabsorption, which is the most common cause. Okay, so the answer is cystic fibrosis. Again, the cystic fibrosis is very important topic. This also been asked in various exams like MOH, DHA, and everything. This is repeatedly asked. And today this question was asked in MOH, March MOH exam. Okay. Again, you should have some idea regarding the cystic fibrosis. So cystic fibrosis as such is an autosomal recessive disorder. Okay, so here what happens is because of this condition, the salt and chloride excretion will be there into the airways. So this results in increased viscosity of secretions. That means all the secretions becomes thicker. Okay. Again, the two major manifestations which we see in children with cystic fibrosis is, one is malabsorption. So malabsorption means they can present with features like bulky, grey, like greasy stools, what we call it as steatorrhea. That is very important presentation. Apart from that, they can also present with recurrent chest infection. That is also important. So these two features are very important whenever we discuss cystic fibrosis. So one is malabsorption features and recurrent chest infection. So sometimes they'll be giving like the child is presenting with cough since long period, or cough with like sputum production since long. Along with that, the child is having steatorrhea. Okay, or sometimes they'll be giving you just features of malabsorption. Okay, so remember this is the most common cause of failure to thrive in children due to malabsorption. So it is cystic fibrosis. Again, this is also very important topic. Again, moving on to next topic, a patient with ascites, drug used for treatment. This is very simple question, and this was asked in DHA March. Okay, so for ascites we prefer aldosterone antagonist. Aldosterone antagonist, and that option they gave was spironolactone. Okay, so the answer is spironolactone. Again, they can give you lot of options like lot of other diuretics, like they can give you thiazides, lot other. Okay, but the main drug of choice for ascites is aldosterone antagonist, or what we call it as spironolactone. Again, next question. So next is, which of the following pneumoconiosis is more prone to develop TB? So we know that this pneumoconiosis, there are various types of pneumoconiosis. So the examples are like asbestosis, silicosis, coal workers, pneumoconia. All these comes under the same heading, or what we call it as occupational lung disease. Again, which leads to TB. So the answer is silicosis. Okay. Again, the silicosis are usually seen with people with occupation like sandblasting. All these people are more exposed to the silicosis. Okay. And as I said, this will be infiltrating the upper lobe and this can result in TB. And also this has a slight risk for lung cancer also. So that's about pneumoconiosis which develops TB, that is silicosis. Again, moving on to next question. A lady presented with thick vaginal discharge which is odorless with cottage cheese like consistency. What is the diagnosis? So this comes under a vaginitis question. So I have already done a video regarding the types of vaginitis. So I'll be giving the link. So here the answer is candidiasis. So in candidiasis, the major manifestation is discharge will be odorless. That is very important. So the other vaginitis like bacterial vaginosis, trichomonas, all these presents with like smelly discharge. And also here the consistency is cheese-like consistency or very thick consistency. Okay. So I'll be coming with more videos based on these questions, 2021 questions. So see you in next video. Bye.